You ever notice how many things these days come with like a monthly payment?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it used to be just magazines and cable TV,
Right.
but now it's everything.
Yeah.
Even like features in our cars are going this way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
There's
crazy.
a lot of digital stuff, you know?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge shift in how we access, well, basically everything.
Pretty much, yeah. And that's what we're diving into today.
Okay.
So you've sent over some news analysis and some industry reports, right?
Right.
About how these subscription models actually work.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
From like grocery deliveries to electric vehicles, it's all changing.
It really is. And the interesting thing is, the sources look at both sides.
Okay.
The pros and cons for, both the companies offering these subscriptions,
Right.
but also, importantly, for us as consumers.
For the people actually paying. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're covering e-commerce,
Okay.
how food deliveries evolved,
Mm-hmm.
EVs, and then, of course, all those software subscriptions that, we all deal with.
Right, right. So basically, we're trying to figure out why subscriptions have taken over.
Yeah, that's the big question.
And what makes them work so well.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, what are the key elements of success?
Exactly. So let's start with, like, the history of all this.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, there were things like newspapers and magazines.
Those are the early days.
But when did this whole subscription thing really take off?
Well, you mentioned newspapers and magazines, and those were kind of the seeds.
Yeah.
But I think the real turning point was when digital services started to boom.
Okay.
Think about software, for example.
Okay.
You used to buy it, one time, get the license.
Right.
But then came this thing called SaaS.
SaaS.
Software as a service.
Okay.
And with SaaS, you don't buy the program outright.
Right.
You pay a recurring fee to use it,
Okay.
often with a benefit of those continuous updates.
So it's like you're renting it instead of owning it.
Kind of, yeah. It's about access, not ownership.
And you get the latest version all the time.
Exactly. That shift was huge.
Yep.
It really changed the game.
And then we saw it go mainstream with consumer services, right?
Oh, totally.
I mean, Netflix, Spotify, they like revolutionized entertainment.
Completely. And they really showed the power of recurring revenue for businesses,
Right.
but also the value for consumers,
Well,
right?
yeah, for sure.
The convenience, the always having access.
And Amazon Prime, too.
Oh, yeah. Amazon Prime was a big one.
Bundling all those perks,
Mm-hmm.
free shipping,
Right.
streaming,
It was a game changer for sure.
all kinds of stuff.
Totally.
Yeah.
And once that model caught on, it was like unstoppable.
Yeah, like once that genie was out of the bottle, it was spreading everywhere.
Exactly.
Like even grocery shopping.
Oh, yeah.
It's all subscriptions now.
I know.
Swiggy, Zomato, Blinkit.
Zepto, yeah.
Yeah.
They all have these membership plans.
I mean, what's the appeal for people there?
Well, I think they're really using subscriptions to, like, supercharge their core service.
Okay.
Like, these memberships often give you free delivery,
Okay.
actual deals.
Right.
So if you order frequently, you actually save money.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It makes things easier.
If you're ordering like 3 times a week,
Exactly.
those delivery fees add up.
Totally. So a monthly fee for unlimited deliveries.
Or even just a discount.
It's a pretty attractive proposition,
It is.
especially these days.
Yeah. Then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got EVs.
EVs, yeah, electric
Ooh.
vehicles, that's a whole other ballgame.
And they're going the subscription route, too.
They are.
For, like, features in the car itself.
I know, it's wild.
I'm seeing more and more of this.
Like, manufacturers are experimenting with subscriptions for everything.
Oh, wow.
From driver assistance systems
Okay.
to things like heated seats,
Really?
even performance upgrades.
So you buy the car, but you don't get all the features.
It makes you wonder what buying a car even means anymore.
Right. It's like buying a house, but you have to pay extra to use the kitchen.
Yeah, it's not quite the same, but I get your point.
Okay, maybe a bad analogy, but still.
It raises a lot of questions about ownership.
So why is this so attractive to the companies?
Well, one of the biggest reasons is loyalty.
Okay.
That's what businesses crave.
Customer loyalty. Yeah.
Exactly. And subscriptions can help build that.
In your subscription models News One report,
Right.
it says it's about convenience,
Yeah, consistent convenience.
predictable pricing,
Mm-hmm.
and services that are like tailored to you.
Exactly. It's about creating a relationship,
Okay,
not just a transaction.
I see.
So instead of just a one-off purchase, it's an ongoing thing.
Okay, so I'm subscribed to a service. I use it all the time. I rely on it.
Right.
I'm not going to switch to a competitor.
Less likely. Yeah, that's the idea.
And the report also talks about on-demand access.
Yes, that's another big advantage.
How does that help?
Well, think about delays in traditional services,
Okay.
like waiting weeks for an appointment.
Right. Nobody likes waiting,
No, it's frustrating.
especially when you need something urgently.
Exactly. And the report actually uses healthcare as an example.
Interesting.
There was a survey in 2022
Okay.
showing that the average wait time for a new patient appointment
Yeah.
was 26 days,
26 days.
almost a month.
That's crazy.
So with subscriptions, you could potentially get care much quicker.
I mean, that would be amazing.
It would. And it would also benefit the business
Okay.
because they have more consistent engagement,
Right.
more predictable demand.
So it helps with their planning.
Exactly. They know what to expect.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, the report also mentions transparent pricing.
Transparency is key.
It builds trust.
Absolutely. When you know exactly what you're paying for upfront,
Right.
no hidden fees, no surprises,
Yeah.
it builds that trust and it allows people to budget better.
So it's about having a clear, upfront relationship.
Exactly. And the report contrasts this with industries where costs are often hidden.
Okay, like where?
They give wealth management as an example.
Right, where fees can be confusing.
Yeah, and unexpected. Subscriptions are supposed to be the opposite of that.
So you're not getting nickel and dimed.
Exactly. You know what you're getting into from the start.
And all of this contributes to building a stronger brand, right?
It absolutely does. It's about moving away from those one-time transactions
Right.
towards building these lasting relationships,
Okay.
positive experiences.
And creating a brand that people trust.
Precisely. A brand that's seen as reliable, customer-focused.
Okay, so we've talked about why businesses love subscriptions.
Right.
But what do they need to do to make them work?
Ah, that's the million-dollar question.
What makes a subscription successful?
Well, according to Subscription Models News 1, there are 3 key factors:
Okay, hit me with them.
accessibility, predictability, and personalization.
Okay, let's break those down. What does accessibility mean in this context?
It means making the service easy to use, easy to access.
Okay.
No unnecessary hurdles or delays.
Right, it shouldn't be a struggle.
Exactly. Like, think about a streaming platform with a confusing interface.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Nobody wants to deal with that.
So make it user-friendly.
Seamless and intuitive.
Okay, and predictability. That sounds like what we were talking about earlier.
It is. It comes down to transparent pricing.
Right. Knowing exactly what you're going to pay.
Knowing it's not going to change suddenly.
No hidden fees.
Exactly. It's about building trust.
Okay, and the last one, personalization.
Ah, yes, personalization. This is huge these days.
Everyone's talking about it.
It's about tailoring the service to the individual.
Okay, so how does that work in practice?
Well, it can be different things depending on the service.
Okay.
Like on Netflix, it's those recommendations you get.
Right, based on what you've watched.
Exactly. Or, a food subscription could offer customized meal plans.
Based on your dietary needs, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. And even EVs are getting in on this.
Oh, wow. How so?
The report mentions things like AI-powered features
Okay.
that adapt to your driving style.
So the car learns how you drive?
It does.
That's pretty cool.
It is. So it's all about making the customer feel like the service is designed for them.
Right, like it's not just a generic one-size-fits-all thing.
Exactly. The more personalized it is, the more likely people are to stick around.
Makes sense. Now let's zoom out a bit.
Okay?
Look at the global picture.
Okay.
Your other report, Subscription Models News.
Mm-hmm.
It gives an overview of the e-commerce subscription market.
It does. It's quite impressive, actually.
What are some of the key numbers?
Well, first of all, the market is massive.
Okay.
In 2024, it was estimated to be worth over $29 trillion.
29 trillion.
Yeah. And by 2034, it's projected to reach $310 billion.
That's some serious growth.
It is. A compound annual growth rate of 57.5%.
Wow.
It's not just about convenience anymore.
So what's driving it then?
I think it's a fundamental shift in how people think about ownership.
Okay.
Like they're prioritizing access over owning things outright.
Interesting.
And businesses are getting really good at using data to personalize those offerings,
Okay.
to build those long-term relationships.
So who's leading the charge? Where is this growth concentrated?
Right now, the U.S. has the largest share of the market,
Okay.
over $19.5 billion in 2024.
Okay.
And it's expected to keep growing significantly.
So the U.S. is the biggest player.
It is. And North America as a whole is the dominant region.
But it sounds like it's a global trend.
Absolutely. It's happening everywhere.
Now, the report also mentions different types of subscription models.
Right. Yes. Within e-commerce specifically.
What are they?
Well, they identify 3 main ones.
Okay.
First, there's the access subscription model.
Okay.
That's like your Netflix or Spotify.
So you pay to access a library of content.
Exactly. Then you have the replenishment subscription model.
All right.
That's where products are delivered automatically on a schedule.
Like every month.
Right. Coffee beans, razors, things you use regularly.
Make sure you never run out.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, you have the curation subscription model.
Okay, what's that?
That's more about personalized selections.
So like those beauty boxes?
Yeah, or meal kits.
Where they choose things for you based on your preferences.
Exactly. So there's a lot of variety there.
A lot of different ways to subscribe.
It covers a huge range of products and services.
And what types of products are driving the most growth?
Interestingly, food and beverage is a big one.
Oh, wow. Makes sense.
Yeah, about 30% of the market share in 2024.
With all the meal kits and grocery deliveries.
It shows how subscriptions have become part of our daily lives.
Yeah, they really have.
Yeah.
Now let's switch gears and talk about us.
The consumers.
The people paying for all these subscriptions.
Right.
What's in it for us?
Well, one big draw is the lower upfront cost.
Okay.
Instead of paying a huge sum upfront,
Yeah.
you get access for a smaller monthly fee.
So you don't have to commit as much.
Exactly. It makes things more affordable.
Especially if you're not sure you'll use it long term.
Right.
Like trying a new service.
Yeah. Lower barrier to entry.
Okay.
And then there's the flexibility.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, with subscriptions, you can often choose a basic plan
Okay.
and then add features as needed.
So you could customize it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's way more adaptable than a traditional purchase.
You're not stuck with something you don't need.
Right. And of course, there's the convenience factor.
And the convenience.
Yeah, like streaming entertainment
Okay.
or automated deliveries.
Right. It's so easy.
Things just magically appear.
I know. It's great.
No more running out to the store.
And for software, you get all the updates, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
You're not stuck with an old version.
You always have the latest and greatest.
So lower cost, flexibility, convenience, updates.
It's a pretty compelling package.
It really is. Now, what about the future of subscriptions?
Ah, the future. It's an exciting landscape.
What trends are you seeing?
Well, both reports point to the increasing role of AI.
AI, artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
That's becoming a big part of everything.
It is. And subscriptions are no exception.
So how is AI being used in subscriptions?
Well, one trend is personalized and AI-driven subscriptions.
Okay, we talked about personalization earlier.
Right. But this is taking it to the next level.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, one example from the subscription models report is in EVs.
EVs again?
They're really at the forefront of this stuff.
Okay.
So some manufacturers are using AI for things like smart battery management
Okay.
and adaptive driving modes.
So the car adjusts its performance based on your driving habits.
Exactly. And it's all tailored to you through your subscription.
It's like having a personal chauffeur
Kind of.
that learns your preferences.
Yeah. It's pretty sophisticated stuff.
It is. And the report also mentions micro-subscriptions.
Oh, yes. Micro-subscriptions and modular pricing.
That sounds complicated.
It's actually about simplifying things.
Okay.
It's a move away from those traditional tiers, you know?
Right, like the basic, premium, and super premium options.
Exactly. It's about giving people more control.
Okay.
So instead of paying for a whole bundle of features, you can pick and choose.
So you only pay for what you need.
Precisely. And the Swiggy One example is a good one.
Oh, right, with the different payment options for delivery.
It's giving people more flexibility.
So you can customize your subscription.
Yeah. And in the EV world, it could be things like performance upgrades
Okay.
or premium navigation.
Offered as separate subscriptions.
Right. You buy the base car, and then you add what you want.
It's becoming more like an a la carte menu.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
And subscription models also talked about hybrid models.
Hybrid models, yes.
What are those?
It's basically blending one-time purchases with subscriptions.
Okay.
So you might buy a basic version of a product
Okay.
and then subscribe to unlock extra features.
Or for ongoing support.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a way to appeal to different types of consumers.
Right. Some people want to own, some people want to subscribe.
And some want a bit of both.
So there are options for everyone.
That's the trend.
Okay, now let's talk about the downsides.
Ah, yes, the challenge.
Well, it's not all sunshine and roses,
Yeah.
right? One thing that jumped out at me is this idea of subscription overload.
Oh, subscription fatigue.
I mean, we've all been there.
I know I have.
You have so many subscriptions, you can't keep track.
You forget what you're even paying for.
And you end up wasting money.
Exactly. And that's a big concern for businesses.
Because if people feel overwhelmed, they might cancel.
They might.
So companies need to prove their worth,
Constantly.
show that they're providing real value.
Absolutely. They can't just assume people will keep paying.
And then there's the issue of ownership with EVs.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
I mean, traditionally, when you buy a car, it's yours.
You own all the features.
But now, with all these software-locked features,
And subscription-based access.
it's changing the definition of ownership.
It is. It's like you own the car,
Yeah.
but not all of its capabilities.
Right, you have to keep paying to unlock things.
It's a very different model.
It raises a lot of questions.
It does. About long-term value, about consumer expectations.
What happens if you stop paying the subscription?
Exactly. It's uncharted territory in many ways.
So transparency is even more crucial, right?
Absolutely.
Companies need to be upfront about what's included.
And what requires an ongoing subscription?
No surprises.
No hidden costs?
And they need to keep reminding people of the value they're getting.
Yes. Constantly demonstrate their worth.
Because otherwise, people will cancel.
They will.
So are there any regulations coming into play here?
Yes, actually.
Because this is affecting so many parts of our lives.
It is. And regulators are starting to pay attention.
What are they focusing on?
Well, they're looking at pricing transparency,
Okay.
making sure the terms and conditions are fair.
Right, no shady practices.
And they're also concerned about the cancellation process.
Okay, that's a big one.
It should be easy to cancel if you want to.
People shouldn't feel trapped.
Exactly. So there's definitely more scrutiny in this area.
That's good to hear. So looking ahead, what's next for subscriptions?
Well, as we mentioned before, AI is going to play a huge role.
Okay.
The subscription models report talks about AI-driven dynamic pricing.
Dynamic pricing, what's that?
It means your subscription price could change
Based on what?
based on your usage patterns.
Okay.
Like if you use a streaming service a lot,
Yeah,
you might pay more.
that's interesting.
It's about tailoring the price to the individual,
Okay.
but it also raises privacy concerns.
Right, they're tracking your every move.
Yeah, there are definitely ethical considerations there.
What other trends are on the horizon?
Well, we can expect subscriptions to expand into even more industries.
So, beyond what we've already talked about.
Exactly. Think about smart home technology.
Okay, like security systems.
Yes. Or home automation.
You could subscribe to those features.
You could. And personalized health and wellness services.
Like fitness and nutrition plans.
Exactly. Tailored to your specific needs.
And we already mentioned EVs.
Right. There's going to be even more subscription-based stuff in cars.
So it seems like everything is becoming a subscription.
It's a trend that's only going to accelerate.
But won't that make things super complicated for consumers?
It could. But that's where another trend comes in. Consumer control and transparency.
Okay.
The report predicts that we'll see simpler subscription structures,
Okay.
clearer pricing,
Right.
easier cancellation,
That would be nice.
and a bigger emphasis on demonstrating value.
So companies will have to work harder to keep their subscribers.
They will. They'll need to prove that their subscriptions are worth it.
That makes sense. Now, before we wrap up,
Yes.
the subscription models report mentions some key players.
Oh, yeah, the big names in the subscription world.
Who are some of them?
Well, you have the giants like Netflix and Spotify.
Okay.
They really pioneered this subscription model for entertainment.
Right.
And then Amazon, of course,
With Prime.
they've built a whole ecosystem around subscriptions.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
And in food delivery, you have Swiggy, Zomato, all those platforms.
Oh, yeah.
And specifically in e-commerce subscriptions, there's a whole range of companies.
Okay.
The report mentions Amazon again, Blue Apron, Dollar Shave Club,
Right. Those are big names.
HelloFresh, and lots of others doing curated boxes and replenishment services.
And of course, all those EV manufacturers.
Yes, they're a growing force in this space.
So it's a mix of established players and new disruptors.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating landscape.
It is. So let's sum up what we've learned today.
Okay.
What are the main takeaways?
Well, subscriptions offer a lot of benefits.
For both businesses and consumers.
Exactly. Businesses get predictable revenue
Right.
and a chance to build strong relationships with their customers.
Okay.
And consumers get things like lower upfront costs, flexibility, and convenience.
But it's not a guaranteed success, right?
Right.
What do businesses need to keep in mind?
Well, they need to focus on providing clear value,
Okay.
keep their pricing transparent,
Uh-huh.
and personalize their offerings.
To make each customer feel valued.
Exactly. And they need to be aware of subscription fatigue.
Right. People are getting overwhelmed.
So they need to constantly prove their worth.
Show that they're worth the money.
Absolutely.
And then there's the whole question of ownership.
Yes, especially with things like EVs.
where the lines are getting blurred,
Exactly. It's a new world we're entering.
where access is becoming more important than ownership.
And that raises a lot of interesting questions.
It does. So for our listeners out there,
Mm-hmm.
take a look at your own subscriptions.
Yeah, think about what you're paying for.
Are you getting your money's worth?
That's the key question.
Because the subscription economy is here to stay,
It is.
and it's only going to get bigger.
So be mindful, be selective.
And make sure you're getting value.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was a pleasure.
It was great talking about this.
Always interesting to explore these evolving trends.
Until next time.
See you then.